Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is another Red Pill Religion podcast. And I am with you today, John Baptiste, and we're going to be talking about a video that Steve Shives did, who's the Atheist Community for. And there are some things that he brings up that I think are good discussion topics to talk about. As far as how atheist YouTubers have acted over the years. Today we have with us Degenerate ANCAP. Say hi, Degenerate ANCAP.
Hello, y'all. Back on for another episode.
We have with us Cromwell. Say hi, Cromwell.
Hey there.
And we also have with us Max Colvey. Say hi, Max.
Hey, everybody. Having fun here.
And we also have Mr. Brass. Say hi, Mr. Brass.
Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Brass. Nice to be here. We're going to be talking about Steve Shives. This is going to be good for me. I'm currently working on one of my videos for the Dark Ages. Hope when it comes out, hope you guys can check it out.
Most definitely. And we also have Comrade Dmitry, aka Robert, with us. Say hi.
Privyet, I am the Russian bot, broadcasting from some rundown Soviet ghetto in the middle of nowhere in Siberia, always interfering in our elections. So I can't wait to take on this video by Steve Shives.
And we also have with us Rocky Balboa. Say hi, Rocky.
Hi there, everyone.
All right, so to give a little bit of a background on Steve Shives. Steve Shives is a guy. He's been doing YouTube videos. It's mostly been most of his early videos has been against creationism versus atheism, which that whole topic kind of made atheism, in my opinion, a lot more toxic than it was before, or maybe that's the origination of the toxicity. I don't know, but he was part of that during the early push of YouTube of YouTube atheism.
Yep, and we also had major run-ins with him when Gamergate was going on, and he was one of the. Remember when the Atheism Plus rift came, and he became one of the big targets of the anti-SJW atheist crowd. I would only just say I think the anti-SJW atheist crowd, like Sargon and them, really should have figured out by now that the atheism they joined was the same as Steve Shives. It's just they're all just as stupid as Steve Shives. They all act just like him too. But yeah, this guy has a long history of bad mouthing people and mischaracterizing people. This should be fun.
Yeah, this should be interesting.
Well, I do have to warn you, he is eating a bit of humble pie in this video.
Is he? Oh,
all right, so let me get the screen share up here. Present to everybody.
Yeah.
All right, let me see what it's looking like on the stream. Present to everybody.
good old Steve! Yay! I actually can't believe we've never done a Steve Shives video. Probably because he was already such. Never mind. We get to him when we get to him.
I mean, after this video, I'm kind of interested in what kind of because he's in this video, and I kind of my time points go over it, but he's actually stopping his an atheist read series, and there it just seems like he's in this video he's trying to distance himself from atheism, but you'll see what I'm talking about in just 1 second.
This time we're not playing the whole video. We've only picked out spots worth responding to, which I think is a better format, by the way. But yeah, responding to this whole thing would be ridiculous.
In particular, when I first started sort of dabbling in making my own videos about it, I was one of those people that was very into the evolution versus creationism debate. I made videos about that.
Oh crap! You're accidentally muted there, John Baptiste. I'm sorry.
What happened?
That was my fault. I accidentally muted you. I was meaning to mute myself. Please
Okay.
continue.
All right.
Evidence for evolution was compelling, and I participated in that. And I mean, if I wanted to pat myself on the back, I could say, well, you know, my stuff was never as bullying and as hectoring and as condescending toward creationists as some of these other people's stuff was. And I guess maybe that's true, but there was still that us versus them mentality. And a lot of the people who came to the community in the first place, either as audience members or as people who became well known within this circle, who got thousands and thousands of subscribers and eventually got to the point where they could make a career, they could make a living off of doing YouTube videos. They came to it as a part of that adversarial setup where they would make videos attacking other people. And people liked the fact that they were attacking people that they disagreed with, or they thought were foolish, or they thought were dangerous or harmful, or what have you. And they watched those videos and enjoyed them.
I don't make
then
money
after a
out
certain
of
point-
talking to people.
What did you say?
I don't make any money talking shit to people.
Oh yeah, but some people do. But does anybody have anything?
If you're a politician, you get paid to do so.
I'd like to
Oh, yeah.
comment. Why don't, maybe we should raise hands instead of all just jumping over each other. So I got mine raised. I actually kind of appreciated hearing this. One of the reasons on Red Pill Religion and the Old Escaping Atheism Project chose to be mean and provocative and make fun of people and all of that was because that was the style that the Atheist Collective had adopted. And even though none of us here is young Earth creationists, and we're really sick of young Earth creationist arguments, we really are. You know, one of the reasons we chose the provocative approach was that was the arena we found ourselves in. It didn't make atheists very happy, Steve, when we treated them the way they treated others. I've been trying to get better about this. The whole team has. So thank you for, you know, acknowledging that that was something you were part of. We're trying to get better here too. If you ever want to talk to us, we'll be happy to. Anybody else? Robert?
Oh, I had my
I
hand.
mean, oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I
Robert?
had my hand raised first. Steve, I mean, how do I put this? I mean, the only reason why, I mean, I remember a lot of his videos earlier. They were very anti-Christianity and why Christianity makes people stupid and it's a mind virus. Now you notice that has boomeranged after you propped up the atheist movement, that has boomeranged on you because it evolved into an anti-social justice movement. Now you're fucking regretting it. So I feel no sympathy for him.
Okay, anybody else? Because my time points doesn't really stop here because
Yeah.
this is kind of a long.
Yeah, pretty much it. He pretty much likes to project and basically like to talk shit to people, but he didn't forget that people can also talk shit to him as well. So yeah, he got what he deserved, and I got no sympathy for him either.
A fucking men, Neffel. A fucking men.
I agree.
All right. Well, you know, the whole thing about the adversarial position, that's something to keep in mind because he keeps on coming back to this on how atheism is based on this adversarial mindset. But all right, I'm gonna keep on going.
Well, I want to say that I'm glad that he's starting to acknowledge that this is boomeranged and blew up on his face. So
Yeah, pretty much.
yes, there's that.
Attacking creationists, attacking apologists, attacking religious extremists became less interesting or less profitable, less of a sure thing to attract views. So that attack model, that adversarial us versus them model, was ported over to other arguments. So it wasn't just atheism versus religion or evolution versus creationism. It became people in our group versus people in that group. And our group might be people living in Western society, and their group might be people living in the Muslim world. And it was no longer a question of religion, although a lot of people tried to cloak it in that, to make it sound like it was a little less bigoted and prejudiced than it actually was. They said, oh no, we don't have a problem with Muslim people. We don't have a problem. It's not a racial thing. It's not a cultural thing. We disagree with them. We think their religious beliefs are dangerous. And we're just trying to explain why. But you can't really ignore, I mean, you can willfully ignore it. But I think if you look at it straight in the face, you can't get away from the fact that there's a very heavy racist, xenophobic flavor to a lot of the Western, mostly white men attacking Muslims, attacking Muslim culture, certainly attacking things in Muslim culture that are extreme, that are radical, that are oppressive, but doing it in a way that paints all Muslims all over the world with that extremist radical brush. And
I have to facepalm.
There is so much projection going on right here.
First of all, no. I mean, Islam is not a race. It's not a race. I mean, and do I think that there are people who are too harsh towards Muslims? Yeah, definitely. But we do have to recognize that there are problems with Islam, and Islam is in a crisis of faith, much in the same way that the Catholic Church is going through with the pedo scandals. So, I mean, and that's not anti-Catholic or racist to say that somehow. I mean, now that this is what annoys me. Now that he acknowledges that, you know, much of the same kind of anti-Christianity rhetoric he employed against Christians and Christianity is now being on Muslims. Now he finally fucking gets it, and I don't know what to say.
I'm
Right here.
Can you guys know how to raise your hands in the chat? Because that would be very helpful if you could do that. Yeah, see, and here's another thing, Steve. I mean, a lot of the anti-Christian stuff you've participated in has been more than just anti-young earth creationist. It's been, in much of your community, it's hateful and dismissive of even of Christians who are on your side on the evolution question. It's hateful and it's shallow how you guys often approach us with the Bible. Now you're becoming anti-Muslim. And you're going to get some Christian allies on that for sure, but I would think smart Christian allies would say, why would I want you as an ally against the Muslims? I actually have made friends with some Muslims, and I like them better than most of the atheists I see on YouTube. Honestly, you know, I see how secular forces have driven certain so-called Islamic aggression. Including, you know, secular ideologies and their influence on groups like ISIS. I guess what I'm asking, Steve, is why should religious people in general trust you when you're so hateful and arrogant toward them in general? I mean, why do we like you better? And by the way, when you're so hateful and condescending towards our religion and frequently get our religion wrong, why would we trust anything you said about the Muslims to be true? We know you say things about our religion that are not true. This goes for everybody in your whole, you know, identitarian atheist movement. By the way, let me point out to Steve, in case he's watching, that I'm an ex-atheist, and that not everybody in here is even Christian at all. I'd say about a third of us are not even Christian in here. We're just pointing out to your community what's going on. Okay, looks like Cromwell wanted to talk.
You pretty much summarized everything I had to say, dude.
Cromwell, well, there you go. Okay.
Well, I would like to bring it back to the part he said where he said he disagrees them painting Islam with the entire extremist brush. That is the entire reason why the not all Muslims thing came out during the George Bush era, because the four horsemen of atheism, which he's going to mention one of them soon, they were doing their thing, but the atheism was really ramping up in the early 2000s before they actually did their thing. And this stuff was going on in the 90s and early 2000s. And one of the things after the 9/11 happened was there was increased aggression towards Muslims, and there was a bunch of Christians that pushed back on that. I was like, no, that's not, that doesn't mean all Muslims are extremists, just because there are some extremists. But a lot of the Christian community at that point was, we were trying to, we're already getting attacks from atheists at that point. So we wanted to not have the Muslims get the same kind of shit that we did, that we started to get at that point. And Max had something to say.
Well, I just wanted to add that the reality is that if you talk to not all of them, but a considerable number of troops in the field who've been involved in conflict with Muslims, they'll tell you that sometimes Muslims are the most valuable allies against the terrorists. And Christians from certain regions of the world, I know some Christians don't want to hear this, or they just call me, I don't know, they just make fart noises like others do. But in some parts of the world, the only, like the Peshmerga troops in Kurdistan, Muslims are the only ones protecting Christians against slaughter from other Muslims who want to kill them.
I was going to say, oh, sorry. I was going to say, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, let me finish. And so it's a complicated question, Steve, when you and your co-ideologues in this atheist movement, where you presume yourself the rational people in the world, why would any Christian trust anyone in your movement at all when it comes to dealing with the Muslim issue?
I was going to say that Ahmed Shah Massoud was a trusted ally of the United States in our struggle against the Soviet forces in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, what happened to him, because of the new atheist movement, he got revisionized as this Taliban supporting guy, and he wasn't. He actually fought against the Taliban after the Soviet Union left and the communist regime collapsed there. And that was largely because of the new atheist disinformation about, history and the role of the Soviet Afghan war. And people like Dark Matter, the Christian right supported the Taliban against, the Soviets. Well, that was part of, I hate to say it, New Atheism was part of that disinformation campaign.
Oh yeah, and you also have to remember that these same secular people and stuff are also responsible for giving them the idea, like Muslims, the idea that Christians persecuted them during the Crusade, and they gave them a bunch of bad history about the Crusade. Now, granted, Protestants did that too as well. So Christians are partly to blame for that as well, but it's not like the secularists made the problem any better in that regard.
Well, it's even with the Crusades, when you talk to a Muslim about it, and not very many Muslims really, unless they're from Turkey, really understand the actual history behind the Crusades. It's just not a topic they care about.
Just like they don't care about the topic of secular atheist regimes slaughtering Buddhists, slaughtering Falun Gong, slaughtering Christians, slaughtering Muslims, slaughtering Hindus. They don't like talking about any of that because why? Because if you care about these things, you should care about them, shouldn't you, Steve? Just to be a good person like an atheist should be. That's all I got to say.
There's one thing I'd like to say about how he was framing the picture.
Okay, go ahead.
I do agree there was, because this is around this time of the giant split in the atheist community, is where I actually entered the atheist community. I was around the time of Gamergate and then the Atheism Plus, those entire debacles. That's where I started out, and I actually sided with Sargon and with the anti-SJWs. It's the way he's phrasing it and the way he's trying to make it basically trying to make it painted out like it's white guys that hate Muslims and they're racist xenophobes, and that's why they're against it. That's why they were going against Islam.
Yeah,
I don't like. There's just so much projection. I want to bring up Ayaan Hirsi Ali. She was one of the biggest voices.
I was going to say
back in the day, and she is an ex-Muslim woman.
Well, that, and there's also white Muslims too, like Bosniaks and Kosovarans and Chechens. They're all white Muslims. I hate this mentality that Islam. I do hate this mentality that Islam is somehow a race, but yeah, I do understand there was a lot of bigotry against Muslims coming from the new atheist movement. And like you said, you mentioned Ayaan Hirsi Ali, and I refrain from using the term Islamophobia. She did promote a lot of bad history that didn't help. Like, for example, she claimed that Islam needs a reformation, but if she knew her history, she would know that Islam did have a reformation, and it didn't really result in Wahhabism, which is
Well, I mean, and also, yeah. And you also have to remember, it's not like the Protestant and Catholic Reformation was necessarily the most peaceful Reformation that happened either.
And let me point out that really, from a Christian perspective, even among the Protestant perspective, the Reformation should be viewed as a horrendous tragedy, and that set off tons of really not good things necessarily. A lot of war, a lot of bloodshed, a lot of hard feelings, a lot of families torn apart. A lot of it now recognized as unnecessary. Not all of it, but I mean, what you're asking for is for Islam. I mean, really, what it is this is condescension. This is people who don't understand anything about religion talking that way. Like the Protestant Reformation was an unalloyed good, which is hardly. I mean, you don't have to be Catholic. Yes, I am, but you don't have to be Catholic to say that the Reformation was not an unalloyed good. There, had the Catholic Church in Europe reformed itself sufficiently, Christianity would probably be more unified and more chill. But whatever. This is people who don't know anything about religion. I mean, they think the Muslims are stupid, and they talk down to them and condescend to them, and don't really understand the Islamic religion. That's the thing. Smart Muslims who are educated on their faith listen to guys like this, or even like I don't know who's that guy, Reza Aslan and stuff like that, or others calling for Muslim reform, and they're like, shut up, jackass, because quite a few of them come from schools of Islamic thought that are already on board against terrorism and stuff like that. So I mean, you're not doing anything but condescending as an ignoramus. I can hear it as a Christian, the way you guys talk down to Muslims. I would hate you if I were one of them, just because of how condescending you are when you say stuff like that. To presume as somebody's completely ignorant of the Islamic faith that you get to determine how it's going to reform itself, who the hell are you? I mean, really. I mean, I know some Christians are listening to me scratching their heads, but think hard about this. You want to convert Muslims to Christianity, for example, the first thing you do is you get a respect for what they think, and actually what they do think and what they do believe. Not what Steve Shives tells you they believe, or what Robert Spencer tells you they believe. You find out what they actually believe, and then you go from there. This is so, it makes my skin crawl.
Is there something else I could bring up about this part with how Shive's acting about the opposition? His opposition?
Okay, go ahead.
Everything he was bringing up, it was as if they were trying to frame it's Muslims as an entirety. I was actually inside of the anti-SJW circles, and actually, in fact, anti-SJW circles got me to think in more of an individualistic sense and look at those who are threats and those who are not threats. There were some in the anti-SJW circles who were like, all of them are evil terrorists. But inside those anti-SJW circles that I was really not going to learn in the more conservative areas that I was in actual life, actually taught me to look at the individual and signing the religion that will turn them into that, into a crazy terrorist. It's the individual. There's actually a lot of individualism being taught during this time also, which he's ignoring.
Right, and some of the most extreme atheists I find are, extremely individualistic, in my opinion. The kind of people who say wrongly that that group rights comes at the expense of first individual rights, which is not true. But it's still, you still have that kind of mentality within the atheist community. All right, so unless anybody has anything else to say, I'm going to move on. Right? Take your silence as consent.
Of being able to think of yourself as being smarter than someone else is what attracted and kept a lot of people in this movement, and that's unfortunate, because that's not a good basis on which to build a community. We're smarter than they are. We're morally superior than they are. It's probably even worse. We've really flattered.
All right, that was my next point, but you know, he's kind of being. I'm kind of hoping that this is more of an apology, but he went into this moralizing way when he was talking about the men's rights movement. He went into this moralizing mode when he just like bashed on the men's rights movement because he was triggered because some of the more toxic elements of that movement, and there are toxic elements in every movement, but some of the more toxic elements in that movement, you know, just got him triggered to where he was just like,
oh, sorry.
Right?
This is why I have no sympathy for him. This is why I have no sympathy for him, because he does this kind of bullshit all the fucking time.
well, what kind of bullshit?
And I mean, here's the differences between
Yeah,
like the
dude, what
SJ.
kind of bullshit?
Like, I mean, here's the difference between the men's rights movement and like the feminist movement. If, like, for example, if the men's rights movement suspects that a man is actually sexist and he literally does hate women, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, the men's rights will kick them out. At least the good ones.
Here's what I'll say. Yeah, actually, men's rights is infested with Christian haters these days. But besides that, and haters of Orthodox Jews and other religious men, but that's segments of it. Maybe Steve would like that. But those of us who cared about men's rights, who didn't want to be atheist, kind of had issues with it. And there are bad elements in the men's rights movement, but I would say this, sir. Will you admit to the bad elements within feminism, and will you come to the table and actually talk openly with men's rights people? You know, you probably won't talk to a dirty Christian like me, but, you know, the atheists over there who hate Christians like you do, some of them would talk to you, I'm positive. Just putting it out there.
Steve,
Your best friend Karen Strawn would probably talk to him.
Karen would fall all over herself to get on with Steve Shives. She would do just about anything. I can guarantee you that. Ditto anybody over at that Badger crew. I tend not to talk about them, but since you brought it up, pretty much anybody at Badgerdom would kill to get on with Steve Shives. Just putting it out there for you, Steve. Just telling you. Don't know how it would work out for you, but man, they'd do anything. Anything, I think. Anybody else got comments before we can? Because I didn't want to talk about those folks. But
yes. This
Go
guy
ahead.
has been moral grandstanding for years, and then he wants to start calling people out for moral grandstanding.
Yeah, that was the kind of bullshit I was talking about.
This is making me mad.
That this is actually, I got to point out to you.
Would you say it's making you triggered?
I know you still self-identify as atheist, but I mean, have you noticed how many times guys like this they'll talk about how morality is relative and they don't want people imposing their morals, and then they do nothing but take loud moral stands that they expect everybody to agree with. I mean, come on, Steve. Come on.
He's projecting. He's basically acting like his audience are fools and don't know what's going on. People view this video, which honestly, I think some people won't know the actual history when they look at this.
Yeah, is this a new video or?
No water. You don't have to use the water, right?
Guys, please mute yourselves. Thank you. All right. So, do we have anything else, or we're going to move on?
How new is the video?
That's what I asked.
What I missed?
We seem to have lost John Baptiste, who has the signal for us. So that's kind of a problem. I guess we're going to have to sit and entertain ourselves. You
guys want to talk bad about you want to talk bad about John Baptiste while he's gone?
Yeah.
He's worthless, man. That man, I think when you get down to it, when you look at the entire Red Pill Religion enterprise, John Baptiste is everything that is wrong with us. And we should.
Yeah.
Mine.
What I
Maybe
miss.
Not
They're such
gentle-
backstabbers. Fuck. I've never seen such backstabbing before.
What I
So-
miss.
Well, he's a dirty Eastern Orthodox schismatic. So
Guys,
we're joking. All right.
You don't hear me?
Yes, HistoryNet has
No.
joined us. Hello, HistoryNet.
We can't hear you.
What-
whispering.
What I miss.
John Baptiste.
Everything.
John Baptiste has been
You
running.
also
Guys, can you let me just finish? John Baptiste has been running the stream and has dropped, so we can't continue the stream. I don't know how much we need to continue it, but
Oh, there he's back. He's back.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey,
I'm
we were just
sorry,
talking about you.
I'm sorry
Rock.
about that. My power went off in my room for a brief second, and all sorts of. 1 second.
My roommate's bathtub was leaking, so you got it easier.
oh man, brownouts in your area. I'm sorry to hear it.
I let someone use my toilet the other day and they totally clogged it up.
I hate when things like this happen because they really kill the show. So, I mean, we should still try and talk about something while he is queuing things up. Do you guys, I mean, what I keep wondering is, you know, who pays Steve Shives to do what he does? And I know it's supposedly just Patreon
Big
patrons.
Red.
It's supposedly just Patreon patrons, but we know now how the game works. Sometimes people with big money will just go in there and create 20, 30, or 100 Patreon.
I think Dark Matter was responsible for him.
No, guys, I know who is Big Red.
Okay, you're not taking my question seriously, but hey, I was trying to make a really important point about the atheist, skeptic, rationalist community is that these guys get paid, and sometimes they get paid because they'll have deep pocket donors who will sign up for 100 Patreon accounts to make it, or whatever number they want, to make it look like he's got grassroots supporters of 20 or 30 or whatever dollars here and there, when it's really somebody with significantly more. That's a dirty little secret within the skeptic community that that the general public's not supposed to know. So, I mean, I genuinely do wonder who funds Steve Shives, because I don't think Steve is as confused as he thinks he is sometimes. I think he's a puppet of his donors.
Are we gonna get on with the vid?
Well, whenever I'm waiting for John Baptiste to say he's ready to keep going. Are you ready to go, John Baptiste?
I'm ready to keep going.
Let's do it.
Really flattered ourselves over the years because we got one question right, we think, right? We figured out there's no God, so that means we're the smart ones. We're the unbiased ones. We're the ones
figured
that
it
don't
out?
have a dog in the fight, because we don't believe in any of these gods. So we're above it all. We're the smart ones. And because we thought we were the smart ones when it came to atheism, we figured, well, we're right about this, we must be right about other things too. Or the people that we listen to, the people that we watch YouTube videos, the people whose podcasts we hear. Well, they're right about this. So when they talk about this other thing, well, they must be right too.
Oh boy, it's
Yeah,
like
that's why-
assumptions built upon assumptions.
Yeah,
let
exactly.
me point out something, Steve, and to his audience. It is now 2018, and still
Here,
the most recent surveys show. Why are you interrupting me while I'm talking? The still survey after survey after survey shows that atheists are the most disliked group. You're now neck and neck with Muslims, and the Muslims are a little more unpopular than you in some surveys, but it's pretty darn close. At some point, do you ever stop and listen to yourself when you're declaring yourself smarter than the rest of humanity? How odiously arrogant and condescending you are, and how maybe that contributes to the bad image that atheists have, that you really do think you're that much smarter than all of us? Steve, I have Orthodox Jewish friends and Hindu friends I have more in common with you than with you, and that I respect more than you. I have witch friends I respect more than people who talk like you. Who the hell made you king of reality? It's a serious question, man.
Richard Dawkins.
Do you honestly think atheists are going to get more popular when you continue to talk about the rest of us like this? It's just mind-boggling to me. Why don't you just get more nasty or more condescending? That seems to be what some of your co-religionists want to do.
Some guy in the chat says that Shives is paid by George Soros.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
Well, see, there's the thing. Well, there's reason to believe the entire atheist enterprise on the internet was funded by people like that. I'm sure it wasn't out of Soros's personal credit card. However, we know that the Soros people are aggressive secularists who are against religion. And that's one of the reasons he's big on the EU. He's part of the globalist forces who are explicitly anti-religious. So yeah, there's an atheist agenda. People get paid to push atheism, anti-religiosity. They get paid to do it. And this is why I say, I'm not going to call out. I would ask Steve. I don't know if he'd answer, but I mean, really, how many of those Patreon patrons are actually just, a handful of people with a bunch of accounts? I'd really like to know, because it's an open secret now. That's how a lot of people who came into atheism got their funding.
He won't answer you. He'll probably just block you on Twitter.
Oh, probably. I mean, this is what I wish more of the young atheists coming up would see. These guys are part of a collective movement, man, and they get funding to preach atheism. They're trying to convert you into their cult. Listen to how this man just told you you're smarter than most of the rest of humanity. Really?
Well,
really?
And to come to the defense of Steve here, because somebody needs to come to his defense in this case, with his little sad puppy dog eyes, and what he's saying, I'm going to give a benefit of the doubt and think that he's going to change his ways. He probably won't, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that this is him actually realizing the climate on the internet that he has helped foster, because a lot of these anti-SJW YouTubers would went on long rants and on like I respected you, Steve. I respected your videos, and all of a sudden sorry
what?
And all of a sudden he took a position that they disagreed with, so they started attacking him. And I was watching this during the whole anti-SJW thing, and during the blow up with that, when they actually used to target him, he's not a target anymore, because he doesn't really say anything useful. But there's
anti-theists are SJWs.
Right. Most of them are, and even the ones that aren't, if you look at it from religious person's point of view, the SJWs attack religion just as much and use the same exact lies as the atheists do. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You're against. There's two different groups that are against each other, but they're also against you. And if they both were to come together over that shared commonality of not liking the group that you're in, I think it's dangerous. I think that atheists and SJWs will eventually come into an alliance because of that mutual hatred for Christianity.
Damn.
And this is why I will repeat: Christians, you should not trust atheists when they want to ally with you against Muslims. No, thank you. Really. So what?
Trust me, Christians. It's you got better chances allying with the Odinists to get rid of the Muslims.
Seriously, that's actually true. There are, but even then, there's also sane Muslims I can talk to. There don't appear to be many sane atheists. You people want to brainwash my kids, lie to them, tell them there's no evidence for God. That's a lie, by the way. Say all kinds of horrible shit about our religion that isn't true, or that is highly questionable. And what? And then we're going to be your shock troops to go against the Muslims? How about you get in line first to go fight them? And we'll see how you do. and see how you treat their kids and anything else. I mean, really, that's what I want to ask Sam Harris and all the other and Lawrence Krauss and all those other atheists who want to talk to us about what we're going to do about the Muslim problem. And I'm like, what are we going to do about the atheist problem first? You know, if the Muslims will stay in Saudi Arabia and leave me alone, I'm fine with that. Will you leave me alone? Will you leave my kid alone? I don't think you will. I think you're part of a group that wants everybody to adopt your ridiculous, godless ideology.
Well, I mean, hell, at this point, I would rather just honestly, if it's a choice, I would much rather just befriend a Muslim to get rid of the atheists than befriend an atheist to get rid of the Muslims.
Yeah, so true. Because seeing what destructive damage the Soviet Union and every secular movement has done, I might as well just side with the Muslims.
I would much rather be much rather be ruled by Muslims than atheists any day of the fucking week.
Look, you know what? Indonesia, not so bad.
Says you all.
Malawi, not so bad, huh?
Says you all. It will actually increase my chances of getting killed.
Well, I'm sorry, but but they're actually pretty groovy to Christians over there. They're pretty religiously tolerant over there in Indonesia.
Oh, don't worry, man. China will take you, although you'd have to drop the whole gay thing because they don't like that there.
China is also is a no-go for me.
It seems that my screen sharing has stopped all of a sudden.
Well, I mean, have we really got anything much deeper we need to say to me, Mr. Shives? And we could just listen to the audio.
Yeah, we could. I mean, it's up to you guys.
Yeah, let's move on.
How much time is there left?
I mean, we can stop at whatever point you want to. He just keeps on repeating himself that atheists kept on painting the Muslims all extremists, but he ignores that people like Sam Harris, which he goes into a rant about. He ignores.
I want to see
that people like Sam Harris who believes in the wrong kind of science, like IQ is everything, which it's not. All IQ does is the whole test is to determine how fast you learn. It is not how intelligent you are. Those are two different things.
Might as well brag about the size of your dick.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I do that.
My only question was, I knew that you had time segments marked off, and I wondered how many more you had left and how long they were. If you've got only 1 or 2 more minutes, we can hit them. But otherwise, I can't think of anything more I want to say to Mr. Shives. I mean,
let's hear him out.
Okay.
All right. You want to hear the rest of it? Because it's.
Yep.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Thing has nothing to do with atheism or religion. That's how there can still be so many people who will just reflexively and stubbornly defend Sam Harris, even when he is promoting someone like Charles Murray and scientific racism. That's not rational. That's not scientific. That's an utterly debunked, discredited philosophy and point of view. Scientifically, we like to think we're the pro-science people. We're the rational, reasonable people. We're the people who follow the evidence. And yet, how many people came to Sam Harris's defense when he had Charles fucking Murray on his podcast and treated him like an intellectual king in exile?
All right, for those who do not know about Charles Murray, Charles Murray is the guy who wrote the book The Bell Curve. And he is somebody who says that based on IQ, some races are better than others. Now,
I've heard it.
I disagree with both Charles Murray and Sam Harris. Sam Harris himself has lied about Christianity. He said that Christians have been reading the Bible literally for 2,000 years, which we have not. That's only post Reformation that came about. We used exegesis and basically who, what, why, or why, how, hermeneutics. That's basically what you do when you actually study a text. Who
Whoops! Looks like we lost Jean Baptiste again. Well, I think we were getting pretty near the end of the stream.
No, the point is that Harris's low IQ followers will defend him to the death, even when he's provably wrong, like he did on the the Dark Ages. Tim O'Neill had to write a whole blog dismantling that.
I applaud Tim O'Neill for doing what he's doing to some extent, but at some point, I hope it occurs to him finally that no, really, he joined an ideological cult movement. He did, and he
has nothing. He has nothing to do. Actually, he has nothing to do with the movement. He even said that the whole movement has become toxic.
Okay. Well, fine. Then he should admit that he's addressing one, and that as much as he hates us, we have a point. I'm an ex-atheist, and I'm telling you, it was the behavior of this group more than 10 years ago that hasn't improved. It's only worsened. That made me question my own atheism. At some level, you've got to just notice that this is an ideological movement with real specific doctrines and dogmas and shibboleths that they will not let go of, no matter how much you correct them, because they're a cult movement. I'm sorry, but they are. That's all I got to say.
Looks like he's back.
Oh, I want to say something. I want to say something.
I'm gonna go ahead and drop. But I'm going to suggest that. Yeah, go ahead. You guys go ahead and do what you're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and drop because I got to go. God bless everybody. I know this stream was a little higgledy-piggledy, but I hope people like Steve actually hear this. All right. God bless everybody.
God bless you too.
Gesundheit.
Later.
Is the stream still going?
It's still going.
Yeah, it is.
We gotta wait for Baptiste to return.
Well, here's the thing. I want to say something about the bell curve because I believe if I'm thinking the Charles Murray, that I think he's the guy who I'm thinking of. He was actually he actually wrote that book because he was against racism, and what he was trying to do with that book is that he was trying to expose the differences in IQ because of the black community he felt was underserved, and was actually trying to show, hey, this is what happens when you don't have equal opportunity. You have certain races not doing as well as others. That's what he was actually trying to agree with people like Steve Shives when he wrote that book. And yeah, and all right, they picked up on that book and used it to say, oh, you know, whites are racially much more intelligent, therefore they're much more superior. But that wasn't what Charles Murray was originally arguing.
Was he also addressing the South Africa, like how much shit it is now compared to when it was under apartheid?
Who? Charles Murray? I don't know.
Yeah. Because I
know there's a lot of talk about
a lot of people bring that up.
Well, I think
it's been brought up now because of Donald Trump.
I think scientific racism is just a scare word anyway, because that means any type of science that studies the genetic diversity of the races. Because it's not just that. It's not just Charles Murray. There's this Asian guy in Canada who announced he was going to do a study of genetic differences between the races, and then activist groups got his funding cut completely.
Well, here's the thing: is scientific racism is a thing, but it was a product of the 19th century, and it became very much a hallmark of Nazi Germany. But at the same time, that's not what Charles Murray was arguing. Charles Murray was arguing that black people do tend to have lower IQs, not because they're superior or anything like that, but because they don't have the same opportunities that whites and Asians do. Because you look at European countries, for example, predominantly white European countries, and you look at Asian countries, like particularly East Asian countries, they're much more wealthier and healthier society, socially speaking, and so therefore they're able to provide better things like education to their people, and as a result, they have higher IQs, and that's what he was arguing for. He was arguing that poor African countries don't have those things, hence that's why they're much more behind when it comes to the IQ stuff.
Oh, but no, it's all about religion. It has nothing to do with how poor they are, that they're in their shit state.
Are you
Right,
sure?
and-
It sounds a lot like what's his name? Basic Economics. That sounds a lot like Thomas Sowell because he's
he was
talking
essentially arguing what Thomas Sowell was arguing.
No, I think Thomas Sowell wrote that in response to Bell. Last I heard. Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting thing because it's one of those things. It's one of those. I'm not going to play any more of the video, by the way. I'm having technical difficulties, and
Yeah, and it's just kind of soppy too.
yeah, I need to. We should end the stream anyway pretty soon, but as far as it goes, it's I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry. Anybody have anything to say? Any type of closing thoughts?
Yeah, I would just say that, Steve Shives, of course, like everyone else has already said, he's just an SJW, atheism plus reject. And I have no sympathy for him given his history.
Same here. Thumbs up.
Same here. Fuck him.
Yeah, high five, Brass. Internet high five.
What happened to him should happen to much of the self-proclaimed skeptics.
He should kick rocks.
Well, that's a lot of this video was him being remorseful, but he never said I'm sorry to the Christians. He's like, I don't care. I'm not even going to try to convince you to be an atheist anymore. You just do you, I'll do me. And the most egregious thing he said in that whole video is, just as long as none of your religious views, have anything to do with policy making and whatnot. And that's where I really just stopped at that, because it just showed me that it was an empty type of apology.
Oh, but he's still pushing for the campaign to normalize atheism, and
See, that's why I see through his bullshit. If he were truly remorseful, he wouldn't be engaging in that anymore, and he would apologize to the Christians and whatnot.
And I like when he said we figured out there's no God, this and that. I'm like, you figured that out? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Or is it because he was told by his cult leaders that?
But it's weird about that too, because it doesn't really seem like Steve really was a big person in philosophy, or in particular atheism.
Even during the high point of the social justice YouTube era of YouTube, he wasn't even that high. He was like a low shithead.
Yeah, but Dark Matter brought him out of YouTube obscurity.
Did he really?
Last time I heard.
I know Sargon of Akkad actually mainstreamed Kevin Logan. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
Because
who the hell's Kevin Logan?
Oh, he's even
Seth
worse
Rogen's
than fucking
brother.
Huh?
Seth Rogen's brother.
Even worse.
Is there something I can say about him seemingly remorseful? I don't know how you guys got that inclination at all. He was moral grandstanding the entire time. Just from the
I didn't get that at all. I didn't get that at all. I didn't get that he was being remorseful. I just got he was kind of being half-ass, sorrowful, or he was half-ass sorrow, half-ass condescending.
From what little I gather from the first half of the stream, because my phone was dying, he was I think he came off as where he was getting to it, but then didn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't take that fuckhead seriously.
Okay, I really have to go because I'm getting, my there's something wrong with my electricity in my room. I have to check on it. I keep on dropping out. My computer just restarted on me again. So everybody give us a like, give us a subscribe, tell your friends and enemies. Make sure to support us at on our links below in the low bar. Our Discord is in there. Come hang out. We're a secular group, not meaning in the way that atheists use it, but in the way that Christians use it. That we're not actually pushed or controlled by any monastic or clerical order. We accept everybody, and we'll argue with you. We'll argue with anybody too. Just about anything. But give us a like, give us a subscribe, tell your friends and enemies, and God bless. Thank you.